By 3 p.m., someone's asked you what you want for dinner, and you genuinely can't answer. Not because you don't care, not because you're tired, because your brain has already made hundreds of decisions today, and it's out of fuel. That's not a character flaw. That's decision fatigue. And nobody told you your brain runs on a budget. Most people think decision fatigue is a motivation problem. Like, if you just cared more or tried harder, you'd make better decisions later in the day. That's not how this works. Every single choice you make, what to wear, what to pack for lunch, whether to answer that text, what to cook, draws from the same mental budget. And most of us are completely overdrawn before noon. I'm going to give you 5 techniques that lower your decision load and move the important ones to the right time. These are mindset tips. They're structural changes that work by the end of this week. I hear this from parents, professionals, caregivers, anyone managing a full life. The exhaustion isn't laziness. It's a system running without a budget. Here's what decision fatigue actually looks like in a real day. You wake up and immediately start choosing. What did the kids need today? What am I wearing? Who do I respond to first? What's the plan for tonight? And here's what research shows. The more decisions you make, the more your brain defaults to the path of least resistance. The simplest choice, the one that avoids the conflict, the easiest yes or the blanket no. Which is why the conversations that matter most to you with your kids, your partner, your own goals, often get the version of you that has the least left to give. That's not who you want to be, and it's not who you are. It's what happens when you spend your best decision making on things that didn't need it. I'm going to give you 5 techniques, but the third one is the one that changes daily life the fastest, so stay with me. Technique number 1, the decision elimination audit. This one takes about 20 minutes once and saves you hours every week. I want you to list every recurring decision you make in a typical day. Not the big ones, the small ones. What everyone is eating, what to wear, which leftovers to pack, whether to unload the dishwasher now or later. Now go through that list and ask 2 questions for each one. First, does this even need a decision? Or has it already been decided and I just haven't written it down? Second, can this be standardized? Can I just always do X so my brain stops treating it as an open question every time? Monday nights are pasta. The school bag gets packed the night before. The answer to, can you fit one more thing in, is no by default. That's not being rigid. That's a budget. You're not eliminating choice from your life. You're eliminating unnecessary choice from your brain, so you have real capacity left for the choices that actually deserve it. Audit the list. 20 minutes. Whatever you can standardize this week, standardize it. All right, technique number 2, the morning decision window. Your sharpest decision making happens in the first 2 to 3 hours after you've, fully awakened. That window, it's not unlimited. It closes. And when it closes, you don't get it back that day. So here's the technique. Once a week, Sunday evenings, they work pretty good for me, but you choose your day. Write down the 3 highest stakes decisions sitting in your life right now. Not tasks, not to-dos, actual decisions. Do I address this with my partner? Do I say yes to commitment? Do I make that call? Block each one into your morning window for the next few days. 30 minutes in your calendar before the rest of the day asks anything of you. Here's why this matters. Right now, those decisions are probably happening by accident. At the end of a long afternoon, in the middle of something else, when you already have nothing left. Move them to where your brain is actually equipped to handle them. 3 decisions. Morning window, calendar event, that's the whole technique. Technique number 3, pre-decisions, if-then rules. This is the one that changes things the fastest, and the one that most people have never, heard framed quite this way. A pre-decision is a decision you make once in advance that eliminates an entire category of recurring choices from your day. The format is 2 words: if, then. If someone asks me to take on something new this week, my answer is no until I check my list. If the kids are fighting about dinner, we default to whatever was already agreed to on Sunday. If I get a request that needs a decision and it's past 3 p.m., I'll respond tomorrow morning. Barack Obama spoke about this in a 2012 Vanity Fair interview. He pre-decided his wardrobe and meals, not because they didn't matter, but because he recognized that every small choice was coming out of the same budget as every large one. He wanted the large ones to have what they needed. You are running a full life. Your big choices, your relationships, your health, your goals, the things that actually matter to you, they deserve what's left in that budget. So take a piece of paper out right now. 3 recurring situations in your week that always require you to decide. Write an if-then rule for each one of them. You just made 3 decisions you'll never have to make again. If that reframe just shifted something for you, hit like right now. It helps us reach someone else who's been calling themselves indecisive when they're actually just depleted. All right, technique number 4, the 2-option rule. Barry Schwartz, a psychologist, he wrote an entire book about this. It's called The Paradox of Choice. The research is consistent. More options, they don't produce better decisions. They produce more doubt, more second guessing, and more fatigue. So here's the rule. Before you decide anything, reduce it to exactly 2 options. Not 5, not everything that it possibly could be, just 2. Option A or option B. Now or not now. Say something or let it go. Yes to this or wait until next month. If you can't reduce it to 2, you don't have a decision problem. You have a clarity problem. And clarity has to come before the decision, not during it. 2 options every time. The constraint is the tool. All right. Technique number 5, the hard stop. Set a hard stop for new high-stakes decisions. For most people, it's somewhere between, say, about 3 and 4 p.m., depending on your schedule, or really whenever the day starts shifting from active to reactive. Anything important that arrives after that hard stop, it gets, let me come back to that tomorrow morning. Any decision that surfaces internally, like worry, rumination, maybe replaying a conversation, that one gets written down and closed. I'll think through this tomorrow at 9. It's in my calendar. Here's why this works. When your brain doesn't have a scheduled time for a decision, it's going to hold it open, actively open. That's part of what's exhausting you in the evenings. It's not just today's fatigue. It's every open loop your brain is still managing. Unchosen decisions, they stay active. Scheduled decisions, they get to rest. Give everything unresolved a time, and then let it rest until that time. All right, 5 techniques. Let me show you what one of them looks like when someone actually runs it. All right, I worked with someone, let's call him Dan. He was managing a household, caring for an aging parent, and he was working part-time. By the evening, he described himself as completely offline, and he couldn't hold a conversation. He couldn't make a simple call. He couldn't think through anything that actually mattered to him. He assumed he was burnt out. When we mapped out his day, the picture was different. He was making dozens of micro decisions before 10 a.m. Scheduling, logistics, who needs what to handle first. None of them individually significant. All of them, though, drawing from that same account. We ran the decision elimination audit. He standardized his weeknight dinners. He pre-decided his response to last-minute requests that he received. And he moved one hard conversation he'd been avoiding into his Tuesday morning window. By the end of week 2, his evenings were different. Not because his life got easier, because he stopped spending his best thinking on things that didn't need it. He told me, I feel like I got my brain back. That's not a productivity win. That's a life quality win. And it started with a 20-minute audit. If you want a structured way to work through these decisions or work through your decisions, not just the small ones, but the ones that keep reopening, the ones you just can't seem to close, the Stack Workbook walks you through a 5-step process that gives every decision somewhere to land. It's not about adding more structure to your day. It's about giving your brain permission to stop holding things open. All right, I'll link that in the description. This is what's actually happening. Decision fatigue, it's not evidence that you're not capable. It's not proof that you're doing too much, though sometimes that's also true. It's what happens when a finite resource gets spent without a budget. You have a budget. You just never knew. Audit the recurring decisions. Protect your morning window. Pre-decide those repeating situations. Reduce it to 2 options and then set the hard stop. You don't need to do all 5 today. Pick the one that feels, most like that's exactly what needs to happen to me. Just start there. Doing one thing is better than perfecting nothing. And the thing that you do this week, the audit, the if-then rule, the 3 p.m. stop, it helps protect the version of you that still has something left at the end of the day. That version, that's worth protecting. All right, tell me in the comments, which of the 5 are you starting with? Or just tell me what time of day your brain usually gives out. Mine, 3 o'clock is pretty much it. There aren't any wrong answers, just honest ones. If this gave you something real, like and subscribe, share with someone who feels mentally tapped out by the end of the day. And as always, reflect deeply, grow boldly, refine endlessly. See you in the next one.